Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club podcast, where we talk about movies. So, let's talk about some movies.
Yeah, and we're keeping up with our director spotlight on Tarantino this month, and we're talking about his least profitable movie.
Yeah, it's weird because we did his first film, and now we're doing his least successful film, you know? Because this one is also the next in the timeline of movies we've picked.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see why this one didn't break the box office.
Yeah, for being a Grindhouse movie, I thought we were going to get a lot more action and suspense. Not really.
No, not really at all.
It's a much more tamer movie.
Yeah, this is, I guess we'll tell everybody what movie we're talking about. We're talking about Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, a low-budget Grindhouse send-up to movies he really enjoyed. This movie comes out in 2007. This is, I think, his fifth movie? And yeah, do you want to say it or should I?
I'm going to let you because this is your month, and you also kind of broke down the lineup of how we were going to do things this month. So I think you should say it.
Yeah, this movie ain't that good.
No, I mean, the action is really good. Kurt Russell,
Yeah,
Kurt Russell's amazing.
Best part of every movie he's in.
Yes.
And, we have the Tarantinoism, the needle drops, we have the snappy dialogue.
The aesthetics in the movie.
Very 70s aesthetic, which goes in line with what the movie is about. It's supposed to be a modern interpretation of what those 70s, 80s grindhouse action flicks, horror flicks were supposed to be. But yeah.
Not a lot of action.
Not a lot of action. There's two big action scenes.
Yeah, and it takes us about the 45-minute mark before we actually see some action in the movie.
Yeah, and it's also tonally weird, because I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be an action movie or a horror movie.
Yeah. So,
where do you want to get started, though? Do you want to get started with things we liked? Because there are things you can like about this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to jump off maybe to characters, because our main character, Kurt Russell, we don't see till like 20-30 minutes into the movie.
Is Kurt Russell's Stuntman Mike our main character?
I would think so, because he just goes through a good chunk of the bar.
Yeah.
So it's more like their body count versus characters.
Because we have two sets of
girlfriends
that divide the movie. We have the Austin group and the Tennessee group.
Yeah.
And the Austin group is made up of Shanna, played by Jordan Ladd, Arlene, played by Vanessa Ferlito, and Jungle Julia, played by Sidney Poitier.
Mm-hmm.
And are they the most non-characters in this movie?
Yeah, we open with them, and we kind of see their dynamic together, and their progression from Jungle Julia's apartment to the bar that they go to, and it's just kind of menial conversation. It's just, oh, you forgot to bring the weed. Well, who's going to bring it? I'm not going to supply it. It's just very, like, you're sitting in the car with them hearing just a random conversation going.
Which generally is a very Tarantino thing to do,
yeah,
right?
And it kind of played on the opening sequence of Reservoir Dogs, where they're having the conversation about Like a Virgin. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of just listening to everybody contribute to this conversation, but it kind of felt like it fell flat.
Yeah, in Reservoir Dogs, we said a lot that Like a Virgin conversation helped establish not only the dynamic of the group, but also a little bit of character for everyone. Whereas this, it was a lot more of just, hey guys, I'm Tarantino. I can write dialogue, so I'm going to write this dialogue sequence. Because it doesn't feel like it contributes to the story, really.
No.
And that's kind of like a lot of the dialogue in this, because it's still Tarantino dialogue.
Yeah.
Ultra-naturalistic, there's some snappy bits, there's some comedy woven in, but the dialogue just goes on and on and on. And it also has another Tarantino-ism that doesn't really show up in a lot of his earlier movies, but definitely shows up in his later movies. And that's very long and deliberate scenes where the scenes don't just cut to the action or cut to the point. They play out. They unfold.
Yeah.
And you're on the ride with the character, and you're just seeing this whole conversation and this whole set piece just unfurl before your eyes. But the problem is these characters aren't interesting enough for us to want to watch that.
No, so if anything, it felt more like it just dragged.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we don't get anything exciting until Kurt Russell is introduced into the movie.
Which he's introduced, like 20, 30 minutes in?
About 30 minutes in when he meets Rose McGowan at the bar.
Yeah, Pam. And it's really interesting because he's, Kurt Russell, incredibly charming, and they're at that bar all fucking night.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. How long were they supposed to be in there?
I don't think there was any set plans after the bar. I think this is just like their Friday night thing where, hey, we're going to go there and we're there till they close.
What?
And it's just like, it feels like you're sitting with them in that bar for hours on end.
Yeah, it feels like you're spending the night at the bar with them, which, yeah, you're supposed to build up these characters as somebody, we want to see prevail, we want to get to know them as characters. And we kind of do. But then Stuntman Mike comes in.
With his plate of nachos.
And his soda water and lemon.
Mm-hmm.
And murders the shit out of them at the 45-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, some stuff happens before he murders them.
There's a lap dance.
There is a lap dance because Jungle Julia is a DJ at a local radio station.
Yes.
And to mess with one of her friends, she decides, hey, if you see us and you recognize us and you recognize my friend, bring her a drink, recite this poem, and she has to give you a lap dance, which is kind of like, oh, fuck, why would you do that to your friend? I mean that's also kind of funny, but still.
I think that's the thing, because she even gives her the out of, just say you already gave that dance earlier in the night, yada yada. And I think, you know what, that's a funny, gag to pull on somebody. But then when Stuntman Mike pulls the poem out,
right away Jungle Julia's like, no, someone already asked her, you're done.
But Arlene is like, I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of into the gray fox with the cool scar.
I mean, she is Butterfly. Butterfly is attracted to Stuntman Mike.
Yes, and is that the longest lap dance in cinema history that's not a porno?
God, that thing went on forever.
Boo did not appreciate the very long lap dance.
It didn't. I mean, I enjoyed the music, and that's a big part of Tarantino movies that I like. I'm introduced to new different kinds of music, or music that I do like, and I don't expect it to be part of the scene.
He's very good at the needle drop.
So that's what I really appreciated, and the song during the lap dance scene I really liked, so I'm going to have to find it on Spotify and save it.
Yeah, that one is stuck in my head. That's the most memorable bit of music from this movie.
Yeah, so music-wise, great. But it was just like, is she just going to dance the entire song and that's the scene right there?
Yeah, because we watched the entire lap dance until it does that, missing frame or whatever stuff that these Grindhouse movies kind of got famous for.
Yeah.
And we just cut to them leaving the bar. I'm like, what was the after lap dance conversation? Was like, hey, can I get your number?
Can I buy you another soda water? Or,
what's going on? Yeah, and that's the other thing, because the entire 45-minute lead up is 2 locations? 3?
3 locations. It's Julia's apartment, the
car.
Well, the car, yeah. The store that they stop at to get, or it's not even a store, it's a bar. It's another bar.
Yeah, it's like a cafe or something.
Yeah, they get margaritas with friends, and then they end up ultimately at the bar.
Yeah, so we're at 3 locations for the first 45 minutes of the movie, and the bar is 20 to 30 minutes of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool. Tarantino's there.
He's the bartender.
Bartender Wayne. Kurt Russell gets a lot of comedy bits. Like, you do, in fact, like Stuntman Mike.
Yeah, I mean, he's very entertaining. Man attacks the plate of nachos like a bear attacking his kill.
It was a good-looking plate of nachos.
But yeah, the nachos did look top-notch. I would order those nachos, yeah.
And it is funny because Kurt Russell is, again, putting on the Russell charm, and he's super likable. And because I had never seen this movie before, I assume same with you.
Likewise.
Did you think we were gonna follow this group of characters through the movie?
Yeah, I kind of thought this would be more of like a cat and mouse kind of game. Like he's gonna chase them and take them out one by one.
That's what I thought. I thought it was gonna be a slasher movie with a car.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the kill that we got, which, is graphic and intense on its own, but it was just like, we needed more in the movie.
Yeah, because, again, not to besmirch Quentin Tarantino's pacing of his films, but this movie is titanically slow.
Yeah.
And it's only like 2 hours. I think it's a flat 2 hours. Or like 90 minutes. I'm not sure on the runtime, but it's not that long of a movie. It's not crazy long.
No.
But you really needed to open with something like a kill from Stuntman Mike, or just something to give him a little bit more intimidation. Something where it's like, oh, he's laying on the charm, and we really don't want the girl to go with him, but she does, and then it's the twist, oh, he's actually a crazy person, but we knew he was a crazy person. We saw the trailer.
Yes.
But he does that, and it turns out that he does this a lot, and he's able to get away with it because he's, sober Sally, and he just kills drunk drivers in his death-proof car. And, yeah, like, that's an interesting idea. That is an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
You have this guy in a car that's built on being death-proof. You can crash it, hit it, do whatever, and he'll always survive. And now he's on this Mad Max, chasing these, 4 girls. And I thought it was going to be that. It was going to be this long chase movie, and he's going to be like the Hitcher, where, they get stranded, and he, runs them down. It's a slasher movie with cars.
Yeah.
But it's not, because all of our main actors, or all of our main characters we have at the beginning of the movie, are all dead at the 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
And then we have a whole new group of actors, which is made up of Zoe Bell, played by Zoe Bell, Abernathy, played by Rosario Dawson, and Kim, played by Tracy Thomas, as well as Lee, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And not much better.
I mean, I was able to, attach onto them better because we spend a little bit more time with them. They're doing a little bit more versus, okay, we're driving and we're going to the bar. It's like, no, they're models and they're on this way to the shoot, and they have, Zoe Bell with them, who is their famous friend. And it's just, okay, we're traveling by car to get from destination A to destination B. And it's just kind of interesting to see, okay, what is their trip going to be like? How is he going to be intertwined in their story?
Yeah, and that's when we find out Stuntman Mike just picks these people almost at random, and he's, stalking them, and, we get the cool shutter thing where he's looking at them through a camera, and you had a fucking moment because you're like, that's my camera. Yeah,
I really had to pause the movie, Google it, and see what kind of camera he's using, because swear, that sounded like my shutter on my film camera. And I'm like, Stuntman Mike can't be using the same camera that I use. It's just not okay. And then I was just like, oh, he's using a Nikon. We're good.
You're good?
Team Canon all the way.
Well, of course. But yeah, so he's stalking them, and, this group of characters is, I guess, more likable, but it feels like such a tease following the previous girls for so long. Because I was like, oh, they're the main characters, and then they all die, and it's the Psycho thing, right? Where they kill Mary and Craig halfway through the movie, and this, I get it, but the execution wasn't there for me.
No, and even in Psycho, there's a series of events that happen that keep you going in that small time frame that would get Mary and Crane in the movie. With this, it's just, all right, I'm picking you guys up. Let's see who can get, score some weed before we get to the bar, and then we hang out at the bar for hours. It's just very kind of like, okay, I'm going to run an errand with my friends, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no, suspense or build-up. It's just kind of like, okay, what's happening next?
Yeah, and I also noticed this. Did you notice that there was, a shift between the first half and the second half? Because, the first half has that really grungy style where everything looks scratched up and it's, oversaturated. It looks like, I guess, the Planet Terror Grindhouse movie.
Yeah.
And then we get to the second half when they're in Tennessee.
And it's just clean.
It's real clean. It looks like it's shot on a digital camera. It probably was. It was probably shot on, just a good film camera. But they completely abandoned the grain, the cuts, the scratched film.
I thought that was weird, too. I thought the entire movie was going to look scratched because that first part of the movie with the first kills and everything, he actually had his people scratch the film. So it wasn't a digital overlay of, oh, it's, scratched from being old. It's like, no, those are real scratches. And I love that when they're at the first bar and they're having the margaritas, it kind of skips a little bit. So if someone says a line, the tape skips and it plays it again. It's like, I like feeling like I'm watching an old movie, even though it's set in modern times.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that we transitioned from that to just digital.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't actually digital, but it's way too clean, and it's kind of off-putting.
I mean, I even liked when they switched to black and white, when he sees the new group for the first time, and it's like, seeing Kurt Russell in the car with the slick back hair and the car itself, I'm like, that works out perfectly with a black and white movie.
Striking image.
Yeah, but then we switch back to color, which is smart, because they have Rosario Dawson in I think a pink skirt, and you have the yellow sports car that she's sitting on. So aesthetically, it pleases the eye to go from black and white to a color pop, kind of like Wizard of Oz. But it's just a lot is going on.
Yeah, and the whole second half of the movie is just because it turns into a car chase like right away. Because Zobel's whole thing is, oh, I want to ride a white 79 Charger before I go back to Australia or New Zealand or what have you. And they're like, oh, we can get that done. And they managed to find a guy who's selling one. They're going to take it for a test drive.
And I mean, that car is clean, because they pull up to basically a farm. And I'm like, oh, they're going to find a Charger that's just...
beat to shit.
It's the frame. That's it. No, I mean, this car looks neat on the outside. They flip the rim. Or not the rim, sorry.
Hood.
They flip the hood, and it's
got
just
the
like...
Hemi going. That thing looks clean.
Wow. Like, this amazing car is just sitting out here in the middle of nowhere.
Because they needed to find Excalibur to slay the dragon that is Stuntman Mike.
Yeah, and Lee and Kim are able to convince the guy selling the car, can we test drive it without you? And Abernathy's like, kind of considered the mom of the group. She doesn't really take too many risks, and they kind of, push her and tell her, oh, you're not down for, any kind of fun. And she's like, no, I'm going to join you guys on your, little trip to test drive the car.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not a test drive.
Oh, yeah, they're going out for a joyride.
They're going out for a joyride with Lee hanging off of the front of the car, holding on by tethers to the inside of the car.
Yeah. And they're just going, woo, and they're having a grand old time. And then Stuntman Mike comes in, and then it gets suspenseful, because he's hitting the car, bells flying all over the place.
But, I mean, first he's watching them from far away through binoculars, and he's smiling and enjoying seeing them speed around and laugh. And you think, okay, maybe he's going to drive up next to them, rev his engine, and speed off. No, he's ready to kill again.
Yeah, and it leads into this big car, these two huge car chases. One, Stuntman Mike's pursuing them. Then, they spin out, and he's like, haha, got you. And then Kim comes out and shoots at him, actually hits him. And then he drives away. And then the girls are like, oh no, now we're going to kill this motherfucker. And then it leads into another, 20-something minute car chase. The last half of the movie, I think it's 30 minutes of just them chasing each other in cars.
Yeah.
So, okay, for a fact it's 45 minutes, that's when Rose McGowan dies, right? That's the half.
It was 44. I'm bumping it up to 45 to be even. Okay.
So that's 45. I think we have another 5 minutes of hospital stuff, and then...
Yeah, and the hospital, what kind of bothered me was they, show him in the hospital. They say, I think, that he... broke a finger and...
broke his collarbone.
Yeah, very minimal injuries compared to how horrific the accident was. Because, man, when they show just the scene of everybody dying in car B, it's just completely brutal.
Yeah, and he flips the car 3 times.
Yeah, seeing how his car ends up, it's like, shit, how can anyone survive that? But the car's death-proof, and he's strapped in. So we hear his minimal injuries, and there's 2 detectives that are outside of his room talking to each other, and basically he's did it again, and the DA thinks with all the pieces of the puzzle that they have from the accident night, it's just an accident. It's nothing to do with this line of accidents that he causes, which I thought, why aren't we getting more intel on this? This should be a bigger play in the story.
Yeah, I thought this was, again, another thing where it would be really interesting if we see him, he kills this a lot. If we had him kill the first group and, one of them survived, and then he's going on to the second group, but it's like, oh, the survivor from the first one has chased him down, and now
Yeah.
there's the third car coming in to save him, and I think that would have been a much more, like, interesting conceit, or it would have added just more tension.
Or even backstory. Give
Yeah.
us more information on the accidents that he's caused in the past. Is it a thing that, he used to be a stuntman and maybe he was let go because he aged out, and he just kind of snapped and decided, I'm going to start killing people?
I mean, well, it's the Michael Myers thing where you don't know why he's
Yeah.
doing it, he just does it. But I get what you mean, because Stuntman Mike is both, he's like mysterious, but you know a lot about him, because he goes on, like, these are all the shows I did, this is like the thing I drive. He's very, like, open when he's
Yeah.
talking to people, at least in the bar for the first half. And back to, like, the second half of the movie, because, the hospital's like a 5-minute scene.
Yeah.
So that's 50 minutes, and then this is, what, a 2-hour movie?
I think it's like an hour 30. It's not that long of a movie.
Yeah, let me double check. Okay, it's 2 hours 7 minutes. So 45 minutes is okay. So 50 minutes is the bar and the first group of girls.
Mm-hmm.
The last 30 of this, or at least the last 20, is the car chase, right?
Yeah.
So we have like 40-ish minutes establishing our group.
Yeah, because we have them in the parking lot. We have him observing the two in the car. Because it's a group of 4 girls. So 2 are in the gas station.
And 2 are chilling in the car.
And we have him kind of figuring out what he's going to do. We see him throw his keys on the floor so he can kind of, play up, I dropped my keys, that's why I'm outside of my car.
And getting close and friendly with these
girls.
girls.
Also, it's like, did we have to get him licking her feet? That was so cringe.
Is it a Tarantino movie?
It's a Tarantino
then
movie.
Yes, you get
There's
feet.
There's so much feet in this movie.
There's a lot of feet in this movie. Again, we should just have a foot count. How many feet are in Tarantino movies? 0 in Reservoir Dogs. Made 0 in Reservoir Dogs. But there's at least, 4 sets of bare feet in this movie.
I mean, even Jungle Julia's billboards. Feet.
Yeah.
Just feet everywhere.
None of the girls in this movie wear shoes. They all wear flip-flops or barefoot.
Or Rosario Dawson with her boots.
Yeah, she was barefoot up until that point.
Yeah.
But besides the point of Tarantino's foot fetish, the whole thing is, the second half of the movie feels like I don't have enough time with these characters to really care. And the first half of the movie is, oh, I spent time with these characters and I kind of care about them, and then they die. And it's like, I don't really care about anybody, and yeah, Stuntman Mike, Kurt Russell, is more interesting than them, but again, we know more about him, and we're a little bit more invested in what's going on with him, because he's the only holdover through the entire movie. He's our through line. And also, the dialogue scenes are kinda meh. They're kinda bad.
Yeah.
Is it on purpose? Actually, I got a question. Is this movie bad on purpose?
It could be. I mean, I don't know. It's just, after seeing it, it's like, I could see so many different directions they could have taken this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give us more backstory on Stuntman Mike. Really make us feel like we know the character.
Or not even that, just make him more intimidating.
More menacing, We feel like, kind of like Jaws. Because he kind of played it like Jaws when we first see the car. When Butterfly's going into the first bar, and he's just sitting on the street watching her. It's like, you could have done a thing where the car just keeps popping up in different places.
That would have been interesting if we don't get the reveal it's Kurt Russell until, the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah. But it's just, even if we know it's Kurt Russell, have it more where the car is just stalking its victims. And it's just, it'll roll by, well, was that the car? And, sun goes through, oh no, it's a different person, but the same build of the car.
Yeah.
Just kind of, play up the suspense a little bit more, but I don't know. I don't know if they, if he intentionally tried to make it like this.
I mean, I assume this was the movie he was intending to make. I guess that, okay, the director's vision. We'll title this section, the director's vision, because Tarantino's got a fucking vision for this movie. What do you think was the goal? It was supposed to be because I think he was trying to homage, the 70s, 80s, schlocky horror thriller
Fast
movie.
Cars, Pretty Women.
Yeah, Fast Cars, Pretty Women, Cheap Thrills.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if that's what he's going for, Pretty Girls, sure. Fast Cars, yeah. Mm-hmm. thrills, yeah, we got those. But does it come together as a cohesive movie?
Not really. It just falls a little flat. Because, I mean, it takes us forever to get the action, and then it dies back down again, and then we get it back again. I think it needed to be more consistent. I mean, not like a slasher movie where you have a kill every 5 minutes, but something to kind of keep us going.
I think that's another thing. Is this supposed to be a horror film or an action film? Or I mean, because I think it's a thriller most and foremost, but it feels like he wants to make a horror film, or it's expected to be a slasher flick with a guy in a car, and it turns into an action movie.
Yeah, I mean, Grindhouse, I assume it's going to be horror.
Yeah.
And it's like we kind of get that, but not really at the same time. So it's like, if anything, it's more of like an action suspense kind of movie.
Yeah, and it's really sad because, I love Tarantino movies.
Yeah, same.
And I can see a lot of Tarantino in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't want to say it's a bad movie, but it's not great. It's definitely his worst movie. I think we can both agree that this is his worst film.
Yeah, I mean, it had cool stuff in it. Stuff that I could appreciate, the aesthetics, the music, the POV of Kurt Russell driving.
Kurt Russell's acting is good.
Kurt Russell's acting, the play on colors and the film scratches. Yeah, there's a lot that I can appreciate in this movie, but story-wise, it just didn't really cut it for me.
I can agree with that. It's like all the aesthetic stuff is really cool, but like the actual plot of the movie is just so bleh.
Yeah.
And I don't want to besmirch the actors. I don't want to make them feel bad, but some of them, I ain't gonna name names, aren't really that good in the movie.
No,
I don't know if they're like phoning it in or they were just not really vibing on the Tarantino isms.
That, and it kind of goes with slasher movies where these people are just bodies and they're not characters. It's just like, okay, here's, a group of people that you could just mow down and you don't really feel anything towards them.
Yeah, but the problem is this is so non-slashery.
I know. That's why it's just kind of like, what's going on here?
It's really tonally confused.
Yeah.
Man.
I know. You win some, you lose some. I mean, Tarantino has a lot of great movies.
He really does. He really, really does. But before we go on to the next movie, which is going to be the most successful one, any last big thoughts on Death Proof? Because, this is a short conversation, but, we watched the whole 2-something hour movie.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on it? Any last closing arguments?
Very aesthetically pleasing for kind of, art film kind of lovers.
You think so?
I think so.
Do you think it's like takes like the artsy guy to make a homage movie to schlocky stuff?
No, it feels very artsy the way it's shot, the different kind of. We'll cut this because even I can't think of something good to say.
I'm keeping that in, but you just got nothing.
No.
You want to have a final like thing to redeem the movie, but it's just not there.
I think I'm gonna stick with the aesthetics. That's gonna be my best of the movie. I think that's kind of what saves it for me because it's very artistic.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of visual things to see in the movie, even though it just drags.
Tarantino's vision is on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree. His vision is on screen. It's just, my God, it is just such a slog to get through.
Yeah, and I mean, when we saw the trailer, I was kind of like, oh man, this is a Dean movie. He's gonna love it. He's gonna be excited. And, watching it, I was just kind of like, I mean, I think we both would have loved it more if there was just more kills, more chases.
If there was just less of the
monotonous
10-20 minute dialogue sequences between characters that don't cut.
Yeah.
And there was less than that and more of just Kurt Russell stalking his prey and being more like mysterious and more tension filled. Totally down. I could see a cut of this movie that's like really good.
Yeah.
But that unfortunately ain't here, so
We move on to the next.
We move on to the next movie. Our next movie, though, is parallel to this, the most successful Tarantino film. And I don't mean, by gut feeling, by opinions. I mean by the numbers.
Not even by pop culture?
No, not by pop culture.
Okay.
All right. I had to think about it. So, this next movie, it's Tarantino's most successful films in terms of money, in terms of Oscars won, and in terms of how many Jamie Foxxes you can fit into a film. And that's Django Unchained. And I'm really excited. I've seen this movie before. It's super fun. It's a really cool movie. I think it actually has a pretty strong visual element to it that shows Tarantino's a really good director.
Mm-hmm.
It also pissed Spike Lee off, but hey, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you ever seen it before? Are you excited?
I've never seen it. I'm very excited to watch it. When you were doing the numbers and figuring things out, I really thought Kill Bill or Pulp Fiction was going to be his most successful movie, so...
We'll get into the more detailed reasons as to why Django won out on the next episode.
Well, I mean, I remember that Oscar season, and Django was huge.
Yeah, it was nominated for like 5 different things. It won 2 Oscars. It basically propelled Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
Well, Christoph Waltz had all been in Inglourious Basterds at that
Yes.
point. But that was Tarantino's follow to Inglourious Basterds, which everyone thought was the best movie.
Yeah.
But, again, we're going to get into why Django Unchained won out, and it basically is because it made a shit ton of fucking money.
Well, I'm excited to finally watch it.
Me too. But if they wanted to, listen to us talk about it, where can they go?
Well, if you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
And you can find our YouTube channel in the frame. That's right, our YouTube channel in the frame on youtube.com. Who would have thought?
Who would have known?
Yeah, subscribe, comment, like, do whatever you do. But, with that, any last words?
We'll see you next week at the Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody.